Hey, it's Amaranth.
This is Eminence.
Come talk to me about.
Active listening and appropriate reaction.
Yes, we're gonna double it up today. I feel like both of those might be a little short, so we're gonna try and do both and see where it goes,
We're going to test your active listening through this podcast.
and hopefully you react appropriately at the end. And like it,
You took my role.
I did. I took it. I snatched it right from under you.
That's okay. I'll do it again at the end. So, the question then is, what is active listening? So, how would you define active listening?
How would I define it?
How is it defined?
For me, I would say, I guess if you have to imagine it, just basically turning off your brain and then listening to their side of it. A lot of us have an issue when we're trying to listen to someone that we're already trying to listen. We're already trying to come up with our rebuttal. Um, so putting that rebuttal aside and just hearing what they're saying, downloading that information, saving it, and then replying is what I would consider to be active listening.
I'm glad you explained that further.
I know I sounded bad.
Yeah, I was. It was like basically one of those where you just nod your head and
Yeah,
That's
don't
not
do that.
yeah.
That's not active listening. It's the
Right,
opposite.
exactly. So I am glad you explained it further. I would even go a step further just to make sure that you are actively listening. And I've done it a few times. Is I restate what I have heard my wife say.
That's important.
That way, she knows I'm listening, and I know I have the correct message that she's trying to convey.
Right.
Um,
I've even had situations where people are not used to that. So when I would repeat what they said, they would get mad at me. And I'd be like, why? I'm just making sure I heard you right. Like, what's going on? So some people just aren't used to that at all.
so when they were mad at you, what did they say?
They're just like, why are you repeating what I'm saying?
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
gotcha.
I'm like, well, to let
I
you
just
know
want to make sure.
and let me know that I heard you correctly.
Right. And it's funny because there are times when I say things to my wife, and she'll like have this whole rant about like what she thinks I mean or how she took it. And so I'll look at her for a second, and Amherst knows my face when I'm kind of confused.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll give her that confused face, and I'll be like, "What did you hear me say?" And then she'll say what she heard. And sometimes it's way off. Sometimes it's only slightly off. I mean, of course, sometimes she's got it. But
Mm-hmm.
there are times where just that word or two changes how that whole sentence can be taken, or really the meaning of the sentence. Um, and then I'll notice the difference. And I'm like, that's not what I said, or that's not what I said. Because I'm very technical with my speech. I think of my words or what words I want to use. So I try to be very
Articulate.
logical. Yeah, particular, logical. And that's just how I speak. So very literal is what I've been told.
Which is good. And yeah, I do the same. And mostly in serious conversations.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're joking around or whatever, then I'm fine. I don't need to be so particular with the words that I'm using. But yeah, in serious conversations, it's good to, and this is the opposite side of active listening. You want to make sure you're getting your point across correctly.
Right.
So if you mean a thing, then say that thing. There are so many words out there. So don't use a loosely fitting word in a situation where another word would fit so much better.
Exactly.
It's not a sprint. So if you need to slow down, think about what you're saying, do that.
Yeah. And so when it comes to actively listening, fun, yes, put all other distractions aside, mental and physical.
Mm-hmm.
Stop doing whatever you're doing. Stop
Phones
playing
down, games down.
Because at that moment in time, your partner needs your full, undivided attention, and it's respectful to give her that or him that. Who's ever talking, it's respectful to give the person talking your undivided attention in that moment. That way, whatever issues being brought up can be resolved. Now, when it comes to what you're doing while you're actively listening and how you are reacting, that's going to be important as well. And it's going to either escalate the situation, or really, that's really the only thing it can do. If it does not keep it at the level that it's at, it's going to escalate things. Because we're having a serious conversation and you're making faces that make me think that you're either not listening or that you are judging or whatever, it's going to escalate our conversation to it's just it's pointless to continue.
It's an argument.
Right. And I mean, the reason I didn't say argument is because I'm okay with arguing. But that's because I still listen during arguments. Right.
Like a healthy debate, not what you would think a typical argument is.
And yet, but even in arguments, like I said, I am fully well listening while we argue, me and my wife. It's not even really a debate. Now, do I know or do I expect her to be listening as well as I'm listening? No, because I just know her. I'm like, But I'll say my point as many times during an argument until it's done or until I feel like I'm wasting my time. And if it's already escalated, then it's just going to escalate. And I'll just, remove myself from it. Then I'll leave it to you guys as a good thing or a bad thing. It does not matter to me. At that point, it's a waste of time to sit there and have an argument in which nothing's getting resolved.
Which is an important part of active listening, which leads us to the appropriate reactions. So if you are doing your listening as you should, practice it. And it's not something that'll happen overnight. I guess we have to specify that. It's not something you can just do. I don't think so anyway. I think Eminence thinks that it's something that just happens. But I think if you're not used to that, or if you're around your family that I've had experiences in my family where I can tell that they're literally processing their own thoughts while I'm speaking. And that's not a good feeling. So practice it, do it, and then when you do hear them, react appropriately.
Now, it's not that when we were talking about it, we weren't necessarily talking about, I do think active listening can be done rather easily. Not necessarily that it can be done overnight, but when me and Amaranth were talking about listening in general, he was saying listening is not easy. It's not an easy skill to obtain. I said, yes, it is. It is a very passive activity in which you just literally listen to the person talking to you.
Hearing is a passive activity. Listening is not.
Because the set of mind, your mind frame has to change. That is the difficult part. To put your state of mind to say, I need to focus on this person, what they're saying, I think that's the difficult part. The listening part is not difficult.
That is the listening part. Your mindset is the listening part.
The mindset's not. You can listen no matter what mindset you're in. You can be angry and listen. You can be sad and listen. Your mindset is not important when it comes to listening.
You're hearing it. It's hitting your ears, but you're not comprehending it.
You are. You can comprehend the same exact message no matter what emotional state, mental state you're in, unless you're in shock or something, then maybe. I was like, but no matter what emotional state you're in. So
when you're debating with your wife or you're having an argument with your wife and she's not, you're telling her these things and she's not hearing you. She's hearing you, but she's not comprehending what you're saying. She's not agreeing, or the conversation is going in another way. You think that is listening, that she's just listening to you?
So the fact that she is just hearing me does not mean that listening is hard.
I wouldn't say it's hard, but the active listening part for me is what I think is hard.
It's not, though. But we're getting off topic again. We'll do a debate. We will do a debate at some other time. And maybe we'll get you guys.
Maybe we'll record. You guys can chime in and let us know what you think.
Right, we'll do it live.
Doesn't mean if you agree with him, then that means you all are wrong. That means you all are wrong.
Just all right. Back on topic. when it comes to active listening,
Appropriate reaction.
appropriate reaction, Amaranth has thrown me off just mentally, but I'm still actively listening to whatever he's talking about. Anyway, when it comes to appropriate reactions, you want to make sure that your partner understands that you are getting the message and that you're not judging them for it. So, if at all possible, make eye contact when you can. Do not make faces. I make faces reactively and just based on what you're saying. So, if I'm confused, you will see my face turn to a confused face. Um, and I'll even admit I am thinking about what you're saying while you say it. And if you say something that does not make sense, my face will change, and I'll remember that point for later on. I'm still listening to what you're saying, just in case you clarify that point. Which case in point at the beginning of most episodes, Amaranth will say something, and I'll be like, and then he'll clarify. Or if he doesn't clarify, I'll be like, let's clarify this. So I have that point in mind, and I'm still listening. That part may be hard for people to have, to be within their own mind while they're also accepting incoming information.
Okay. We've moved on from that. We're talking about appropriate reactions. we will have a part 2 if we need to. So when somebody is talking to you and you're hearing them and you may not like what they're saying, don't react inappropriately. If somebody is angry at you, do not get angry at them just because they're angry at you. That's not right. And I guess it depends sometimes, because if it happens constantly and they're just like, "Oh man, you left your shoes at the door. Now I'm pissed at you. Now I'm going to ruin your whole day." Gonna be kind of hard to not get an attitude back. But if they're being genuine with you and talking to you and saying, "Hey, yesterday when I asked you to give me a massage and you're like, no, that really hurt my feelings." And if you got an attitude at that, then
that's on you.
Yeah, that's messed up. Why are you getting an attitude at them trying to tell you how they're feeling?
Right. Not that you're obligated to give that massage, but they're being open with you. And when you shut that door, when you have that reaction, that really, for whatever reason, weird reaction, it shows them they can't really be open with you.
Right.
And you want to be with someone you can be open with, and they should be with somebody they can be open with.
Right.
So definitely, you're right. You're 100% right about that when it comes to just making sure they feel valid and making sure they feel that they can come to you about whatever they need to come to you about.
Right.
Big or small. When it comes to bigger things, then yeah, you should understand that their reaction is probably going to mirror that. You burnt down the kitchen after I told you not to touch the stove. Like, yeah, that's a big thing.
Right. And also the in this situation, the little things are very important, because without those, the big things won't happen.
Right.
So if you're not, and I don't just mean anger. I mean, if they tell you something, you just laugh in their face, that is also not an appropriate reaction.
That's disrespectful.
It's very disrespectful, and depending on who you're messing with, you might get hurt. So be mindful of that.
Hopefully your partner's not hurting you. We'll do a different episode about that too. We have that planned.
That one will be on more of a serious note. But what I'm talking about is not on a serious. I'm talking about like a pillow or like a little nose flick or something like that. Nothing too intense. But yes, for the reactions, and no reaction sometimes is an inappropriate reaction. Like if they're telling you something.
I've learned that just staring at people with just a blank face while I'm absorbing the information, they'll be like, they're not receiving anything. I don't know what they're trying to receive while they're giving me information, but they're not. It makes them unhappy.
Just subtle little things, just like a nod or. Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I might do that if I feel like doing that, but sometimes I do not feel like doing that. I mean, if you're ranting and I feel like you're just venting or ranting, I might just stare at you and be like, I'm gonna let you finish. And then, it takes longer for some people.
I'll
Some
have to
people
agree.
will, catch on and be like, "What do you think?" Or, they'll seek that confirmation of me listening. Other people just get upset and they're like, "You're not even listening," and I'll be like, "Now I'll reiterate everything they said to me, and then I'll be like, is there anything I missed?"
Yeah,
And
I'll agree. I tend to stop giving um appropriate reactions when I realize that they're not really looking for a solution. They're kind of just talking at me. So
yeah,
I kind of just turn into a wall.
yeah,
So I'm just like, talk at me then. I'm not going to waste my energy.
which I have to say is not an appropriate reaction.
Nope.
It's not, and
Just because
I
we do it
fully
doesn't make it right.
understand it. I fully understand that, but I know myself. Um, yeah, and I know when I'm doing it, and but I am still actively listening. Completely inappropriate reaction, but still actively listening. And for those of you who can relate and you've been actively listening this whole time, then the appropriate response would be to hit that subscribe button and that like button.
You did it.
I did it. It was not as subtle before, but I did it.
I think it was good.
It was good. It wasn't as subtle.
So, thanks for joining us, everyone. And this is Amarin.
This is Eminent.
And we'll catch you next time.